I think it's really important just to always continue evaluating the things that you're doing, not only with your diet, but also your habits. I see it a lot with people. They tend to get kind of married to their habits and grow some sort of loyalty, even when they're presented with evidence saying the way they've been doing it for so long isn't really optimal, right? And this comes into play with diet because you tend to grow to like the foods that you habitually eat. And this can cause a little bit of friction as far as changing up your diet. So never be too afraid to throw new foods in there that you think will have a benefit. My name's Jay, I'm a nutritionist and an international level athlete, and yeah, today we're talking about 5 foods I've pretty much stopped eating this year, and I'll explain some reasons and I'll explain some substitutes. But yeah, you know why you're here, let's get into it. So the first food here is cacao, and I went down the rabbit hole, I don't know, maybe like a year ago, as far as trying to get some of these flavonoids into your diet. Basically, flavonoids are anti-inflammatory compounds, and managing inflammation, it'll scavenge up all these potent free radicals which can cause damage to cells, which harms your neurons as well, so cognition and recovery are some of the big factors here. And if you can eat more flavonoids and other anti-inflammatories like, you know, vitamin E, selenium, omega-3, this can help. But the issue here with cacao powder is these flavonoids are a little bit fragile and we don't really know how much of these are lost in processing. So if you're just buying like a generic brand of cocoa powder, you don't really know if these actually have anything in them. Additionally, cacao powder has caffeine, and I was having like 60 grams of cacao powder, and it was quite bitter because I don't think you're meant to put it with milk or too much sugar because that can impede on some of the absorption. So I was like, okay, well, I'll have it in the evening closer to bed because that way I won't be too sluggish, but you don't want to chug water before bed. Additionally, it has caffeine despite you feeling sluggish, so not great. I was about to wrap it up there, but there's also the lead and cadmium issues. Like, cacao generally has quite high lead and cadmium. It's a little bit unavoidable. You can get less in some of the brands, but if you're eating a lot of cacao powder, this is an issue because heavy metals will cause adverse effects in various ways, and yeah, it's problematic. So altogether, it's like, why bother when there's so many anti-inflammatory containing foods that I eat nowadays, such as like walnuts or turmeric or chia seeds, that are just no hassle and don't really cause any other annoying things that I have to deal with. Especially because I know that they have the anti-inflammatory thing, because I know they're not filtered out in the processing. So that's my rant on cacao powder. I don't necessarily think it's always bad, it's just there's better options which are no hassle. So the next one is just trading out all of the trash in my diet for candy, and I'll explain why. So basically, fueling a session, you want carbohydrates. This gets stored as glycogen, but even further, if you have sugars right before, it'll be sugar in your blood, and as soon as you start exercising, your muscle will take up the sugar, use it for energy. So fueling a session with carbs can be really beneficial. Additionally, you don't really want too much fiber right before. For one, it can slow down the absorption of these carbs, and some people have an issue with fiber and a bit of gastric distress once they start exercising. I'm a bit of a sweet tooth and I like a little bit of sugar in my diet, so by moving all of the crap into just some sugar pre-workout, it's not really giving me any adverse outcomes, like, and also you're avoiding all the other crap that you get in, say, ice cream or cookies, all that saturated fat and all sorts of other nonsense. So I think if you want a sweet treat, make it just pure sugar and put it right before training. Because if you have sugar and don't train and you're worried about insulin and blood glucose, this is an issue if you're just sitting still because your muscle's not working, it's not taking that up, and you're relying on insulin to take it all, mop it all up, which might be an issue if you're running into, you know, pre-diabetes or something. The next one here is kind of like air-fried wedges, and earlier on in the year when I'm doing my annual bulk pass after the end of the season, I'm eating like between 4,000 and 4,500 calories, which is a lot for me. I'm only 75 kilos, but my metabolism just means I have to eat like an absolute freight train, which is kind of annoying, which is why I kind of fit in like a little bit of, it's like a good diet with a bit of trash on top, because otherwise I just feel bloated trying to eat 4,500 calories of clean food. It's just counterproductive, kind of, especially if you're already hitting the mark with all the micronutrients. Do you really need more micronutrient dense foods? Not really. So air fried wedges, instead of putting in the deep fry, because heating up seed oils is going to release all these free radicals which can be pro-inflammatory, so putting them in the air fry, you're kind of circumventing this. Issue is most of these, like, you know, frozen wedges or fries, they are still coated in like canola or sunflower oil, and then you're heating it up in the air fryer. Yes, it's a lot less than you would be getting with deep frying, but with the focus I've been putting on anti-inflammatories this year, it doesn't really seem right to, you know, throw in this. I just throw in something else. Like, I sub that out for like oats, maybe like later on in the day. But it was pretty potent for bulking though, because you can kind of use them as a vehicle for mayonnaise, which is, now that I think about it, it was a little bit grim, but if you are enjoying, please be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. It's free, helps me out, and I'd love to have you on board. The next one up is cashews, and I kind of traded this out for walnuts and Brazil nuts, and I'll explain why. Basically, cashews are pretty much all omega-6, and omega-3 in comparison is more important. We need both of them, but if you have too much omega-6 to 3, it can be pro-inflammatory because they compete for the same enzyme, and then if omega-6 outcompetes it, then all this inflammation kind of breaks loose. So you want more omega-3s in your diet, especially nowadays because a lot of processed food is pretty stacked up with seed oils. This is where walnuts come in because they have a lot of omega-3. The most out of any nut. If you saw my nut tier list, they're at the very top. But interestingly enough, they're also at the top of omega-6. So what's really going on here? Basically, they have a ratio of 1 to 4. Okay, 1 omega-3 per 4 omega-6, because omega-6 is just easy to get, right? Most modern diets are eating like 1 to 20, which is outrageous, like so much omega-6 somehow. So if you can reel this back in, you know, closer to 1 to 4, some would even say 1 to 1, but I don't really see how that's feasible. The more the better. And it's not that cashews are inherently bad just because they have omega-6. They're actually better than walnuts as far as minerals go, particularly with iron, but I've had my iron tested and I'm fine. I don't need any more iron, probably the outrageous amount of spinach I've been eating, but I'd say walnuts are pretty good for managing inflammation. Almonds are actually really good as well because they have certain flavonoids which can help as well. They're also pretty good for minerals, so I'd recommend like almonds and walnuts, or you can just watch my nuts tier list. That was actually quite fun to make. And the last one here is fresh vegetables, and hear me out, okay? I don't want to dissuade anyone from eating fresh vegetables. I still like them, but as far as price goes, especially as I said before, if you're already getting all your micronutrient targets, which I am with other foods, it doesn't really help anything to have fresh vegetables on top. Like, yes, again, I like them, but they're expensive and they're not really adding anything, especially for me who has a reasonably high calorie target. I'd say if you have a low calorie target, fresh vegetables can help you, you know, reduce your calorie intake because they are a little bit more filling for the calories, pretty much no calories, but oftentimes with fiber they will fill you up. Frozen spinach is just so much better because it maintains way more of the weight when you cook it. If you've ever like fried up raw spinach, it's just demoralizing. It's like, where did it all go? But yeah, that's been the video. Let me know down below what things you have cut out of your diet or subbed out for something else. I'd be interested to see what you're all thinking. But if you enjoyed this video, there's some here. I'll see you next time.